Hi, hope you're doing well. Let's get a reading. I have incense burning. I just cleansed and lit some mugwort and some Palo Santo, and let's see what's happening. So while I was shuffling, I kept getting like ghost dance. I did get, remember, well, you may not have seen it, but yesterday in the reading, there was something about ghost dissolver, about how like we're Hekatean and we deal with like the dead and necromancy and like natural mediumship and like passed on loved ones, communicating with like the dead, passed on lives, past lives. There's also something coming, like a message coming to me about being also a, do you know how like some are here but they're not actually tapped into their soul? So you may be somebody who's like able to kind of reach into the depths of people and like help them navigate their way back to their soul in some way. So that's also kind of a having to do with Hecate, okay, because she's the guide through the underworld, right? So like these people here are actually going through this underworld type of life, right? Like where it's like they're maybe still choosing the dark, but somehow you're able to kind of still reach through and like see them or see their souls and their like true intentions, and like the way that they navigate isn't exactly like the way that they want to be navigating. Like they may think that they do, but they have no idea how to get back to the light, so they just settle for the dark. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something about that, right? So yeah, there's definitely something about that. You may be waking people up. The drum is here, Pachamama. So I saw upper world and then completion. No, first it was soul retrieval. What was the second card? I forget, but I saw soul retrieval, completion, upper world, completion, and the middle world, the journey. And then I saw soul retrieval again, and I saw ghost dance. I think is how it went. And then, yeah. And I was like, oh shit. And then I went back and read my notes about that, and then I got that downloaded. Yeah, the drum and the child. Okay, so there's something about that. That's a message all in itself, right? The ring thing. So, yeah, there's something about that. The wind. And also I was getting a message about taming the wind. Like also being the wild. What was it? Something about like the wild, the mystic, the seer, the... Hold on, I did write notes. Okay. Yeah. Because I was looking up information about a yod and like, do I have it in my chart? And I do kind of have one. It's not exact, but it's close. It, yeah, it's It's kind of something. Anyways, but I have a T-square, Sun, Pluto, North Node. So that's kind of the finger of fate or whatever. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, you walk a path deeply rooted in mysticism. You may relate to this, you may not, you don't have to. It doesn't have to resonate at all, but if it does, listen. You walk a path, a path deeply rooted in mysticism and intuitive work. You may resonate with the archetypal signature of the wayfinder, navigating transitions, working through the unconscious patterns, the hidden truths, and bridging between the conscious and the unconscious worlds. You may have overdeveloped Cappy traits, responsibility, structure, and perhaps carrying the weight of the world. You may be using your specialized abilities in those things to transform situations while you're here in this middle realm, right? You may have spent much of your life dreaming of the life that you want, but the last few years be rebuilding it after many setbacks and hard-won karmic battles, such as divorce, health issues, failed relationships with family and friends, lovers, etc., jobs that took more than they gave. And now is the time you could be seeing a clear path after setting boundaries, clearing out people, places, and things. You may be now ready to fill those spaces with what's actually aligned to you or with you. Untouchable and driven, like to, get to that North Node and meet the people that you want to meet or that your soul is meant to meet, and like actually pursue that life that you have been visioning. Anyway, so that might be the thing. And I'm being called to do archetypes. So this might be a little bit of a different reading. So the cave in the ocean. So yeah, there was something about, what was that thing I was saying? So there could be like something significant in your chart, like either a T-square or, a yod or something to that kind of effect. Possibly. I have Saturn, North Node, South Node, all at 22 degrees. So that's kind of a major thing. And then I also have, I think, a couple T-squares in my chart. I also saw the shaman and I don't know what. The storm. It's like the tower. But anyway, it may be shocking to people, like who you're, I don't know, finding yourself to be, like this person that you've turned into. It might be shocking people. Like you're not who you used to be. You're not who they thought you turned out to be. You're also, so you may have been held back by like your circumstances and like choices that you made like when you were young, like things that you did before you knew like anything about yourself, before you fully formed, right? And maybe as a child or as a young person, you were misguided in some ways, where like you weren't fully aware of what you weren't aware of, right? So like the choices that you made when you were young may have been out of like, I don't know, the environment you were in, like the traumas that you went through. You were kind of acting out of like PTSD, CPTSD, not really you, you know? So a lot of the decisions that you made maybe may have been like survival mode type of scenarios, like where you weren't actually being you were actually being a product of your environment. So it was kind of difficult to decipher who you actually were based on your decision making, right? So the king and the ring. So I'm seeing that as a thing. Like, who would you be if you were able to deprogram yourself from everything that you like, if you could be birthed again, right? And you came out of the womb not knowing anything that you know now, who would you be? Like, what decisions would you make? How would you choose to live your life? What religion would you choose, if any? Would you even choose one? Would you even, look at that aspect of things? Or would you do your own thing? Would you be your own sovereign being? Or like, those opinions and like those ingrained thoughts and we think of them as like they're kind of luxuries, like choices that we make based on like freedom. Like, we're not being told what religion, like we're not being like forced to be whatever it is. And so if you didn't have any programming from before, like, what would you choose? Like, you're free to do whatever you want, and it may not be what you've chosen in this life, so what you've decided in this life to be. So if you had any choice, what would it be? Excuse me. Trying to stay hydrated. Anyway, so yeah. So there's something about that as well, because like, you are the creator of your own life. Like, what would you create your life to be? Who would you be? How would you be? What would you choose? Maybe you'd vow to be celibate, or maybe you'd vow to be a nun or a monk or something, I don't know. Anyway, so did I already cut this? I think I did. I did it again. Anyway. Let's see what comes out. Also, I had another topic, but I'll save it for another video, because I just thought of it. Okay, so we got 3 here. So the self is at the bottom. So to my point, like, if you had the ability to choose whatever you want, what would you choose? Without the programming. Like, let's say without like the Bible, like all the things that, we're taught. And like, what would be your truth? Like, what do you feel would be your truth? Like, in tune with like your spirit, your soul. You know, if things didn't sit right with you in like the Bible and like what you're preached about, to like a church or something, if religion wasn't a factor, what would you choose to believe about God or your creator or the universe? Things like that. So the dead end. Damn alarm. Anyway, so the empty room and the shaman. Well, that's kind of scary. So the dead end, the empty room, and the shaman and the self are the cards that we got. So that's an interesting combination. Let's also get the alchemy deck. I think that's the second time we got the shaman, so... Mercury and synchronicity. You may be seeing a lot of synchronicities. I saw 12 today, 1110, 1234, or 123. I just saw 333. Anyway, it's 333 now. Drowned King, again with the King. Sparks of light. Something about being the light in the dark in some way. A bridge to the dead. Also, okay, so I think I was talking about the dead. People who their souls they're not quite like in tune with their soul. It seemed like that dust just came out of my fingers, but it's not dust, it's fuzz. But so what I meant is that like there's people who aren't so in tune, I guess, with their soul's blueprint. Do you know what I mean? Like they're here, but they're not exactly tapped in any way. Like they're kind of just like feeding their egos, their images, their doing what the crowd does, Well, I guess this kind of does fit in. Yeah, it does. Okay. So, I don't know if you've heard, there was a documentary done about Myron, the Tate brothers, what's that guy's name? What's the white guy's name? The Caucasian guy is what name, whatever. Austin, I think is his name. Anyways, so there was that documentary. So I was watching Abba and Preach. They did a couple of videos on YouTube about the results of the documentary and how it actually looks, and like the actual stories that these guys' wives are saying is that they're not exactly being up front with their wives, and that they're not actually okay with these guys, screwing these other women. They're just kind of dealing with it because they've been through whatever they went through. They're kind of damaged, and they're not actually just okay with like these guys having whatever open relationship on their side, but closed on their, the girl's side. It's kind of a joke at this point. But seeing that, and then knowing like the aspects of like people feeding their image to the point of like okay, so women are dependent on, or okay, so there's like two sides of it, right? The guy is feeding that need of stability in a woman, right? With the implication, or the what is it, implication? Yeah, implication of I'll give you stability, but you're gonna let me do what I want, and have as many women as I want. And that's the relationship basis in some way, where it's not exactly like that though. It's like it's a lie. But then it's putting like out there to the world like this image of it should be okay with women, right? To have, if you're getting all your needs met, you should be okay with this. So it's like training women to be a pick-me, training women to be like I'm okay with it as long as you provide me stability. And then, so gross. But like, obviously it's not okay with these women. And it's been a lie, right? So, and it's not a lie in a way of like they're lying to us, they're lying to these women. Or like they're not exactly okay with it. Their faces and their demeanors, and they're basically saying, well, it has to be with me, or like one of them. And then Austin, I think is his name. Is it Austin? Anyway. Yeah. So like the way that it's so gross. It's manipulation. That's all it is. And it's gross. And sad. So I just saw Venus in it. So anyway, I wrote some notes about it. Seeing a very public messy mirror of okay, so this is something that I went through, like where I was the side chick, but I didn't know. And so it's like kind of a mirror, but backwards, like I was meant to be the side chick, and this guy thinks that he can have whatever women he wants, okay, while he has a wife or whatever she is, concubine. So there's a specific kind of frustration that comes from watching a public outing when a behavior being exposed. The behavior isn't just an isolated incident. It's not something that you only have dealt with. It's something like a systematic way of thinking that some use to keep themselves positioned as moral or a rational party. So like they think that their idea of what women want is actually what women want, and it's not, right? Women want somebody who's faithful and who we're not being lied to, you know, number one, okay? And then everything else is secondary, you know? Like, and that's exactly what the wife of that guy said, the pregnant one. She was like, she said, at least I'm not being lied to, when she in fact is being lied to in a way, because, well, maybe not. Maybe she's not being lied to. Hold on, let me think about it, because what I was seeing was pretty unjust. Like, so maybe she doesn't see all of it. Do you know what I mean? I think there's more manipulation going on, because behind the scenes, who knows what he's saying to her about these other women. There's a line too of herself. So she's in fact lying to herself, saying he's not being like these other men because he's putting it in her face, not behind her back, right? So if the behavior is the same, it's really the same behavior, only it's being put in your face. I mean, the rationale that comes from like this weird behavior, I don't know, it's, you must be doing some mental gymnastics every day, every night, you know, when he doesn't come home, and like you know, that whole thing. So I mean, and you say it works for you, but is it just temporary? Do you see like a long term? I mean, apparently there's something like that, but okay, anyway. When someone spends years trying to covertly justify their actions while maintaining a secret, and basically, essentially rewriting their reality, and it's based on morality is the lie, right? And logic. That's the lie that they're gymnastically trying to, you know, jump through hoops to try to convince themselves of. Like, and these people rely on the idea, if they like talk loud enough, or, you know, say that they like, you know, this and that, like threesomes and, you know, things like that. I don't know. It's like they don't look, like they sweep it under the rug, and like they're not looking at the wreckage, right? Their emotional, like they're settling for this lifestyle based on their needs not being met. Or maybe it's not their needs at this point, but like at once upon a time it was their needs, and they settled for this position, even though it's not exactly what they signed up for at the beginning. Maybe with the previous people, right? They weren't okay with it then, but now they're okay with it because it's not being lied about. And the facade and the lie that they are being told is that all men are like this, and like, if you want this much money, this is what you have to settle for, right? Where there are some men who don't cheat on their wives, and they do make that much money. And then also the girlfriend of Myron, I think her name's Angie, she was like, yeah, you know, I realized that it wasn't worth all the money, you know, or something like that. She said that I have a happier life now, without all the, you know, mental gymnastics basically that she had to do. It's like settling for someone not being there, you know, not knowing where your ex, or where you're not your ex, but your her now ex, you know, but not knowing where they're sleeping and who they're with, and like not having to pack condoms and things like that. You're not having that mental gymnastics every night. You're not settling for this lifestyle that you say you like, or you know, you settle for it because you think you're making enough money for, like, and then the whole thing of like, the moral side of it, like, basically you lie to yourself for clout and money. You lie to yourself for the status that doesn't really actually matter. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That soul retrieval, that soul, like, that's it. I don't know. It's like waking up the dead. Like, understanding, like, I could have all the money in the world and I'd still not be happy with that, you know? Like, I wouldn't be happy about, I couldn't be happy about that, because I see where it is. I see it is what it is, and it's like, if you think that you're actually okay with it, but then you end up like getting some warts or some shit like that, then you really wouldn't be okay. All you need is that like reality slap in the face, and like you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, where you're not actually happy with it, because you're gonna be freaking angry if something happens, right? You're gonna feel some type of way, and that's not, you know what I'm, it's not the way that you actually feel when it comes down to the reality of it. The reality of it is that you're not actually okay with it. You just settle for it because it perks. And like, are you actually being protected? Anyway. Yeah. So that's, I think, the dead end and the empty room. And here I am as, I don't know. Also, I was taught a long time ago about sex ed. You can wear a condom and still get an STD. So, and a lot of people out here are not wearing condoms and still serving up those, you know. So, just, you don't ever have to settle. Oh my god. Chaos. You don't have to settle for chaos. Yeah. Rotation. There's a cycle in this. A cycle of chaos. So, and I think that has a lot to do with, you know, this collective thing. So I think a lot of people have grown up in these cycles and these roles, or these, you know, lifestyles of like this is what was always done in my family, so this is what we do. You know, the systematic thinking, you know, yeah. So there's something about that. It's like you have other options. 2 of Cups is at the bottom. Like 5 of Cups. Or 5, was that the 5? 5 of Pentacles, sorry. Yeah. 555, let's be significant. Again with the chaos. So, also, oh, that reminded me of something. Yeah, the cycles, right? So, okay. The chaos of it. The competition. So, you know, okay, these guys feed their own egos and the egos of their spouses or their significant others, the other women maybe even that they find, right? By, you know, saying, oh, I have a beautiful wife, and, you know, feeding that part of her that so they use their status, you know, their clout. You know, I have this many followers, I have this much money, you know, I have all these Bugatti. I have all this, so, you know, you want this and that status, and, you know, to be thought of as beautiful by this guy with status is like in money, and, you know, it's so, if you stripped all of that down, what would you have? Oh my god, if you haven't watched it yet, please go watch the Abbott and Preach. They did 3 different videos on but the first one was the most hilarious, where I mean, I was literally laughing out loud. When I can't think of his name. Is it Austin? The white guy, when he walks the funniest intro, oh my god. They did like this funny shit, oh my god, it was hilarious. It was so funny, oh my god, it killed me, because I've always thought that guy was like literally the biggest douche. Like, oh my god, it's so funny to me. I just could not. That was the funniest. But I'm so glad that somebody, you know, somebody's out here like saying it, and then I just find it hilarious. That's the funniest thing ever. Okay, anyway, so I'm gonna get past, present, future, and how should I do it? The regular or past, present, and future? 5 or 6 cards. 5 or 6 cards. Six. It's already 4. Dang it. I was gonna go out at 4. Is it really? Dang it. So the 7 of Wands. Boundaries, right? For the Emperor, Yeah, it's just toxicity and temptation and judgment. Like standing in your power, not men standing in their power of like, my dick, it must be, this is overcoming the toxicity of this type of behavior. It's deadness, right? It's not real. It's very 3D. Yeah. Okay. Having that discernment to set boundaries. How are we showing up in this? Regretful? It's that 5 of Cups. Sadness. Like loss. Because you're losing to this Knight of Wands energy, this in and out, like flakiness, this unstable. But they buy your stability. Like, you buy into them throwing you money as being stable. Like you're buying into that. When really it's an empty room. Right? Because they're neither here nor there, and it's a lot of hidden, the moon, hidden parties, third parties, 3 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, and it's a cycle, right? So breaking the cycle would be becoming, transforming the situation, right? And maybe that's where, maybe this is you in the past where you've had to deal with people like this, or they lied about it, or they were that player type, but maybe they were trying to feed you this kind of image. Either way, it's a loss, like, of your sovereignty. Also, like the change of maybe, okay, so a lot of us have dealt with like divorces and things like that, where like there's like being out here in this dating world, it's kind of a lot different than it used to be. A lot has changed. It's become a chaotic situation. Even they were even saying on that show how a lot of these young kids, right, are being affected by these people, and the mindset that they have, and it's kind of sad, and it's kind of corrupting men. It's kind of crazy, right? That there needs to be like a deprogramming from them. So there's a loss of that, like as well, where we're having to set boundaries even with our children, to like make sure that they're not watching these people and growing up. Like most men have actually heard of Andrew and Tristan, and like that whole seen. And if they haven't heard from it themselves, they're getting it from their friends who've heard it. And it's crazy. Like, there really needs to be like some kind of like deprogramming. Like, and I started this reading talking about like this soulless being type of people, where their soul's replaced by their ego. You know, like this, that's the type that I'm talking about. So it's about, you know, the feminine and savoring who she is. Most women who do this type of shadow work are Empress types are actually not this the type to fall for this shenanigan. We're too much in our sovereignty, you know, so it's not going to work regardless. Like these types of people look for the damaged type of people, women who are already like, I give up, you know, where they settle and they don't really care about, you know, dignity. It's more of ego. It's more of, you know, money. Like, it's more like feeding that type of status, you know. That's what they think they're getting from it. Anyway, what's surfacing? So that might be the sadness that you see. Like, maybe you see and you understand you have to set boundaries. You have to lose these people because this isn't you're not signing up for this, you know. There's some type of ascension, a new beginning, out in the cold energy. That's too many, so yeah. It's, you know, I'd rather be by myself. If it's not just, you know, discernment, awakening, discernment. That's what's surfacing. Now, Four of Swords can be like, you know, bedroom activities. It could be, you know, thoughts, like putting to rest those, that overthinking. So that, Two of Cups was behind this Strength card here. So the Devil, Five of Pentacles, the World, Ten of Swords, Ace of Wands, the Sun. So where is it? Because I saw it. Must have been way back there. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, so I don't know, it showed itself for a second. So the Four of Swords is about, you know, getting out of your head about these burdens of like, oh, finding someone who actually cares and who would have everything that I want is so hard, you know. But you may just be settling because you feel a lack of something, a lack of stability, but there needs to be an overcoming of that temptation to take, just what you get. We've actually been taught over, a long period of time, right, to take what you get or get nothing at all. A lot of us were told that, and it seems like there's an actual shift in the mindset where we don't think that we're good enough to get actually what we want. But this is why manifestation and clearing your karmas and clearing also that programming comes into play, because you don't have to settle. You can actually manifest whatever it is that you want, and until you get what you want, you do not settle. And that's the hard part. So women need to put themselves in a place where they're financially stable all in themselves. I don't know why he's laying there instead of the bed. I don't know. You're being weird. Are you okay? Anyway. So instead of being tempted into this lifestyle, right, with like this Kardashian type lifestyle, I think that's a huge major what I would say is, what would I say? What was the word? Contributor to, this type of mindset for women, right? Because they want to look the part, like look rich, and have all these things that, on today's economy and their income, and many of them don't even have jobs. They'd rather be baking bread and that soft lifestyle, right? Instead of working. I don't know. That could never be me. I'm just not that type of woman, I guess. I mean, I would not mind baking bread and things like that, but I'm also not going to put up with somebody's bullshit like that. No. And putting myself at risk, and no. That's how you get worms. What the fuck? I mean, no. You could... A lot of people have not gone through sex ed, and that's part of the issue, right? You can sit on a toilet seat and get worms. You can, really mess yourself up, Anyway, I'm just saying, and it goes with my name. Honestly, I'd rather be looked at as some sex ed person than just sit here and not say nothing, because I don't know, it's so important. I guess people really don't care. Money covers it all, does it? No. And how does your body not shut down? And not, I could never. I'd dry up so fast. What? No. Anyways, I'm being silly, but I'm also being serious, like dead serious. Like, I could not. I don't understand. Mm-mm. 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 That's why I wear this shirt. Okay, this is a bit much. Anyways, there's some discernment that's needed. I mean, I would be overwhelmed with like it's my autism. Because I think of everything. I could not. I don't care how much money you throw at me, like, no. And then these men typically are broke, like they have no money, and so, you know, that makes it even worse. It's like you're doing it for nothing. Like, you might pay my rent, or you might pay, you know, a bill here and there, but still, like, no. And especially if I'm paying my bill, no, fuck that. No, none of it. Could never. Okay, let's elaborate on the Two of Cups. Okay, it finally came out. So the freedom of having just one partner, having those boundaries and setting up like this one unity, this one unified relationship, that is freedom from all those headaches of, you know, have you been tested lately, like, you know, it's also learning that stability, that loyalty, that, so those soulful values of that soul love, right? Where there's a commitment there, there's like stability, there's loyalty, there's like none of this I'll backstab you for a dime type shit, you know, like that type of freedom, you know, where you're just with this person and you both know that you're safe, that this person isn't going to leave you on a dime or for a dime. And, you know, that emotional stability that comes with it, it's mastering that emotional, you know, it's not an empty room, it's not a dead end, and you know that because you have the discernment and the boundaries and this unity, and you take these vows, and yes, there may be some doubt, but you don't jump into something like without that discernment, like, so you never really know somebody, right? But at the same time, you know, it's not based on money. What can I get? Do you support, you know, every financial need that I have? It's not based on sex, and it's not based on like those, I don't know, it's based on more than just those lower, I guess, needs, you know, and the freedom that comes from knowing that you're supported and that you have that depth. It's not just base level, like, just ridiculous. I don't know. Okay, what actions do we take in this? I don't think I'm going to clarify because I've talked so much. Three of Wands. So there's something about foresight here. It's also about waiting for that perfect person, that commitment, that like actual, stable commitment. It's about ascending, right? Like, so a lot of us have gone through these things of stressful lies, deceit, being up all night because we don't know where our partner is and what they're doing and who they're with, and they're out cheating somewhere, and we've gone through that before. So we're waiting for the right partner. That's waiting it out, even if it takes 9,000 years. But we're not settling for like somebody who makes us feel like this, and actually tuning into our emotional body and understanding that those boundaries are needed for the purpose of and not shutting down emotionally, not being this empty room that he can just whatever he or she, I don't know if many women are doing this, but can you go lay down, please? What's the matter with you? Huh? What is it? It's not even raining. Will you go lay down, please? What is it? Will you go lay down? I'm busy. I'm busy doing this. You want to come up here? Yeah. Get in your bed. Anyway, so what resources do we have? Four of Wands. So this is about stability, unity. Okay, unity within. So a lot of people don't have that unity within, that understanding of masculine and feminine energies that are within us, that we can be our own support, be our own nurturers. A lot of people are codependent, and that's why they settle for this type of lifestyle, right? So Six of Swords, Six of Cups, Four of Pentacles, and the Sun. So part of this may be, okay, so my understanding of my own self is about, my Capricorn traits, right? Overdeveloped Capricorn traits. Responsibility, structure, and carrying the weight of the world, perhaps to like a fault. Very practical. I don't know. Okay, so this may be where a lot of people that are susceptible to this type of relationship, maybe people who are emotionally unstable, or I wouldn't say emotionally unstable, but emotionally unable to deal with like everyday stresses, past relationships, and I say this with the utmost amount of love and empathy. I'm not saying that it wasn't hard, but my practical Cappy energy is saying, fuck that. We don't put up with a loss of, our own dignity to supplement for, this lack, right? Because I've dealt with a lot of lack myself. I've had to deal with a lot of Capricorn things where I'm not willing to, it doesn't outweigh the burden, right? Emotionally for me, because my mind, maybe it's my autism, but my practicality, I don't know, is saying, no, fuck that. We don't sacrifice our dignity for a little, money or stability or like what we lose in the situation, right? Because honestly, I feel like we're losing a lot. Women in general are losing a lot from this pick-me bullshit, I feel like, as like a group, also I think men do also have a lot to lose from like having women enable them, and it is enabling. So it's like, do I want to move forward as a collective, like help assist in getting to the solution, or do I just allow this to go on because this is what I've settled for and I justify my own bullshit in this way? So I can't. Anyway, so yeah, okay, so we have Six of Swords, Six of Cups, and the Four of Pentacles and the Sun. So 4, 4, and 6, 6, and the Sun. Stability, reciprocity, also you get what you give. So now I'm a very Aquarian person. My thinking, my feeling sometimes, I have Venus in Aquarius, I have Mercury in Aquarius, I'm ruled by Saturn, my sun is in Saturn, in Capricorn, so I'm very much so Saturn ruled. So in that way, I have a very practical way of thinking. Now it's also rebellious too. So, because Uranus, that might be the chaos here. Okay, like I can see the Uranus energy being the chaos, and but the way I see things is that it's very evolutionary, I would say, where I feel like if we're not making progress, we're kind of moving backwards as a collective. So a lot of my thinking goes to, if we're not making progress as a collective, we're moving backwards. I do see that we have this forward thinking ability, moving forward to calmer waters, the stability, right? And the ability to shine the light on the past and where we were lacking. And justice is behind that, temperance is behind that, the Tower, like I said, that Uranus energy, right? We're able to alchemize and find justice in situations and find balance in situations where we go from like, this is what I've learned from being in this type of situation where you don't have to settle. Even for like the most amount of money, you don't have to settle. Maybe you might think that you're happy and you're free from like the financial burdens, but are you? Because isn't it a burden to sleep at night? Or is it not? I mean, I'm just saying. Or, I mean, maybe emotionally you've shut down, and that's where we're coming to be the shaman and to find, you know, your true self. Is this a dead end in an empty room, or is this really what you want? The shaman wants to ask, you know, is this yourself? Is this actually your true self? Or is this shapeshifter energy? Because you didn't like it before when it wasn't being told to you, but now that it's being told to you, you're suddenly okay with it. Like, you know, that type of thing. And like, you just don't want to be lied to about it, because like, I think you're lying to yourself. You know what I mean? So it's something to kind of take a look at. But and this isn't for anyone in particular, but if you feel like, you know, I don't know, it's kind of to that lady that, I don't know, that Austin or whoever, whatever his name is, Justin? Is it Justin or Austin, or I don't know, what's his face? So anyway, I've spoken too much probably. I'm just trying to move us forward. I feel like there's some sort of, if this isn't for anyone else, it's for me to like just really, I don't know, I wanted to understand what all of this was about, you know. And 2 different occasions I wrote those things. So I wrote this today, I wrote this the other day when I saw that video, and I was just like, huh, you know, it's kind of interesting how they kind of went together. But I really feel like it's a tangled web we weave, you know, of like security and emotional security. And are we even really secure in what we're choosing, you know? Because it's a choice ultimately. And are we having discernment, or are we just rolling over and playing dead? There's also that religious part of it where Eve, so-called Eve, came from the rib, and the apple was eaten by, you know, temptation, because the woman is, you know, the man's temptation, blah blah blah, all that moral rational, that moral rationale, right, of positioning themselves as the more moral, more knowing what the woman wants, rewriting reality. There may be like an idea that they're relying on, you know, and it's been justified in the patriarchy, you know, for you know, centuries, right? But it seems that they rely on it for a deeper reason, and it does actually leave wreckage, you know, emotional damage to women, and obviously the men too. You know, if you look at these 13 and 14-year-old kids, oh, money makes, you know, you men have worth and status, and, you know, they're not worth anything if they don't make money, and you know, when you have all the money, then you get all the ladies, and it's like, is that really what you want? Because I don't think they're also teaching sex ed in these like little classes or whatever that they're, I don't know. So, and they all end up dying of AIDS or some shit like that, you know? I really, honestly, I mean, what was the one that Edgar Allan Poe died of? Syphilis, right? And that's curable. But people just, like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you going to the doctor? Are you making sure you don't have that, curable, like, and it's stuff that needs to be taught. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's common sense, but it's not so common these days. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I think I've said enough. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this helps.